Primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Greg Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your all-night news show providing in-depth coverage for the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Now for your news segment rundown for April 5th, 2023. Fistful of Beskar. 99 problems, but a bad batch ain't one. But first, this news.
All right, thank you very much, Grex. Welcome to another edition of Core World News. I am Ben. I'm joined by Grant and Adam. That was Grex you just heard. He's totally another character that we just never show for no reason.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. It's good to be here again this week. We got a little tripped up. All I got to say about that is whoopsie daisy.
Yeah.
But we're here now.
On a Delphi station, you know, lots of...
Yeah.
We're hanging out in the sun for too long, but we're back.
We're back.
Covering what matters.
Yeah, and I think we're going to do a double episode. I think this live stream and or podcast and /podcast is going to be Mandalorian only, and then we're probably going to break the stream and start a new stream and hence a new podcast recording and cover the news and the Bad Batch, because there's a bunch of news leading into Star Wars Celebration, which is happening this weekend, which should be fun. So without further ado, Grant, you want to maybe
let's dive
down...
in. Let's catch up with our listeners and talk about last week's episode of The Mandalorian, which was Chapter 21, The Pirate. When Navarro comes under attack by Gorian Shard and his pirates, Grief Karga requests assistance from Captain Teva and the New Republic patrols operating in the Outer Rim. After hearing Karga's plea for help via holomessage and taking in some cautionary advice about the New Republic's shortcomings from a familiar face, Teva flies to Coruscant and hopes an in-person conversation with the New Republic requisitions officer will help provide the backup needed for such a rescue operation. Frustratingly, the requisition officer seems to have his hands tied with numerous distress calls from signatory worlds, and when Amnesty Officer G68 is invited to weigh in, she joins in condemning Navarro's independent status, and it seems assured the clearance and resources will not be granted. Out of options, Captain Teva travels to the Mandalorian hideout in the remote desert world in which they currently reside to relay Grief's message to Din Djarin and his fellow Mandalorians. After a long deliberation in the cave, the Mandalorians decide to follow Din in this mission to save Navarro in exchange for a tract of land. In an epic action sequence, the Mandalorians attack by air and ground, eliminating the pirates and saving the people of Navarro. In exchange for their heroic deeds, Grief makes good on his promise and gives the Mandalorians a massive swatch of land.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Grant. That was very awesome. Catching people up on last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. So it is our turn. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jason and Derek, who are paying attention.
Our guys.
For a show.
Our guys out there in the galaxy.
Our guys. Yeah. Repping us. But thanks, guys, for logging in for the live stream on midday on a Wednesday.
The Spinward Patrol is here.
Spinward Patrol. Oh, so you've been digging in on those guys too, huh? The background Mandos?
Know nothing about them. Haven't seen them featured in any ancillary material, but now I'm in love. I think we need comics. I think we need everything. We need everything on the Spinward Patrol and Delphi Station because, wow, are they cool. And Captain Teva, again, probably one of the greatest heroes post-Galactic Civil War. Zeb, I didn't want to bury the lead in the in the summary, but you know, we get Zeb, he's back, and this is post-Galactic Civil War Zeb, and it's awesome to see.
He looked great.
Yeah, he looked really good.
Real good.
Yeah, shockingly good.
Yeah. And like a really short jump from animation. And
right?
Oh, he looked fantastic.
Some people are complaining about the hands. I guess the hands changed. I was come on. If anything, it's just far more realistic.
He had hands?
It's the same complaint about the lighting. I'm like, have you seen a well-lit cave? Do you know what that movie looks like? That's a different tone altogether, all right? Yeah. You don't want that.
Yeah. No, I never would have thought we would have gotten Zeb in anything, just because of the need for animation. But man, it looked so good enough that I could see him being a big part of upcoming series, you know? Yeah.
If they can afford it, that would be amazing. He was mostly CGI, right?
I think so. Yeah,
100%.
100%, right? Which is, that's the next step. I love a good rubber suit, but it really makes it more lifelike
I agree, and I love that they're mixing it. I think with everything else, because like the other side of it is, we'll come back to Zeb, but the other side of it is Gorian Shard, right? Which is very much a Henson Muppet, and I am all in for that. Like I just
Yes.
like I was just watching his mouth.
I'm pretty
move,
sure
and
he
I'm
played
like,
keys in the band, right?
Right? Yeah. I'm like, I
Saxophone?
love the mouth movements of a Muppet, and they totally have that with him. I'm like, that's great. I'm glad that we have all of these things in our Star Wars.
Yeah. Loving the swamp thing on the bridge. Incredible.
Yeah, they're playing that up with Grogu a lot too. Like it's blatant puppet movements, but they're adorable puppet movements. So I'm just right there for it. It's great.
And then there's the puppet movement that's just throwing the action figure across the room, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Delphi Station and our New Republic, patrols, I have a feeling, and this might be kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I have a feeling that the season's doing a lot of the heavy lifting that the Rangers of the New Republic was supposed to do. Did you get that thought of like they're starting to pull in some of the plot lines they were going to do in that show here?
Yeah, that's a great thought. I sort of thought that this is still groundwork for that show. Like, they haven't given up on that show yet, and so they're still continuing to lay the groundwork. Or this stuff was already written, and they were assuming there was going to be a show before Cara Dune joined Special Forces. I can actually use real quotes, air quotes, on video. But yeah, that's what I kind of thought was like, hey, this could still be a show. I mean, Captain Teva can carry it.
I hope so. I like that idea, right? That maybe they're setting up groundwork for what would have been like almost season 2 will now be season 1 because they're doing like soft season 1 during Mando season 3.
Yeah. Which is the way it goes, I think.
I do sometimes joke about the show being like a lot of traffic stops and process stuff and then just dipping its toe in this sort of more space opera or epic territory now again with the Darksaber sort of like mantle of Mandalore stuff. But like I could see the Rangers of the New Republic being a very process oriented show of like policing the frontier of the Outer Rim. Like it writes itself. It could be super fun if you follow Teva and whatever other Rangers they set up. Like that would be just a great show.
Yeah, that would be super fun. Yeah, I'm totally into it, especially after seeing it. They also, like, the one thing that made me think they were definitely setting it up for a show was the music. Sit, boy, stay.
It's my Loth Wolf. Sorry.
Yeah, it's if you could see this terrifying Loth Wolf.
Yeah.
And that's a ball of fluff that weighs 8 pounds. But yes, no, the music was amazing. It was like a composed song, so it was like set music, what they were listening to in the bar.
Yeah.
And it was really good. But I thought it really like lifted the scene and made you think like this is important. What we're seeing right now, and it was. Yeah. It was just. I mean, either of you guys just freak out just seeing X-wings?
It's kind of like an Apocalypse Now scene, but I guess better lit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brighter tone.
Yeah.
It just felt like that to a degree, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
The music said, I think, psychedelic music in the captions, which was fascinating. I was like, oh, it's clearly a Vietnam sort of
vibe.
I guess illusion or something of that nature. And that whole part just felt like really tranquil and beautiful. Like they set up their base on this beautiful island. Like it was so cool. Like I just thought the location was awesome, and it was a nice tropical beach world that wasn't Scarif. Like that was neat just to see other ones of those. So, yeah, I love that location.
Yeah,
I do wonder what Zeb was flying though. Like
what kind of ship is he flying?
And then whatever he was flying, he just boards that and salutes. Takes off.
I know. I bet he's more like ground troops, right? Because you couldn't stuff him into an X-wing. I don't think.
He's got a flight suit on though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah.
I've never really seen him fly, but I guess that never stopped him before.
What about a Y-wing? Like, could he fit into a Y-wing? Like, he could run another support.
And we do know the Rebels had a cache of Y-wings, so maybe he grabbed one of those. That'd be fun.
No, it was so great to see that location. I'd love to see more of it. And I feel like the season is all about, especially next episode, which we'll talk about, which is all about these grand, like, flyovers. And I feel like part of it is just trying to show, it's like with competing against Andor of like, look, we have giant locations too, right?
It's like Star Wars Biomes season 2. Get ready.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I can't wait. I just need a Delphi station and just that shot of the island for 45 minutes. X-Wings flying by. That'd be great.
That would be great.
So we got to go to Coruscant, guys. We gotta
Yeah,
talk
let's
about
do it.
this upsetting scene.
Mm-hmm.
Also hilarious scene.
Yes.
Yeah, Teva goes to Coruscant to the Office of Requisitions and talks to an officer played by Tim Meadows. Brilliantly casted, I think.
Yes, I haven't seen Tim Meadows in forever.
Yeah. No, it took me a while to be like, oh, that's right, Tim Meadows. I forgot about Tim Meadows.
But he always has his hands tied, or he's like this. He's always this character that's highly confusing in a lot of the skits on SNL, and like it was just the perfect character to put as this sort of like icon of this bloated bureaucracy. This guy who's just like at the top, but can't really decide on anything. It's analysis paralysis.
No, he's so great, Colonel
Destiny
Tuttle.
Committee.
Yeah, doing his best and
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Well, and I love that he only had like he was playing it very straight, but there's one moment where he's just like, "Ooh, that's not good." Like that delivery line was like that made me chuckle. It was just such a great delivery of that line. Put a little bit of spin on it.
Yeah, he's great. And then we see, what is her name? Our mean-spirited
I think Kane is her
Kane.
name.
Of course, it's Kane. Erica Kane, Elia Kane, Kane, aka G68. Yeah, and she's there pushing to really not have the Republic intervene out in Navarro. What say you to that?
Why is she in this to these officers? I had no understanding for why amnesty officers were allowed to basically weigh in on a decision that's about New Republic defense. I was like, is this really a good idea? Because, this was someone on the other side. It just felt out of place to me. At the same time, I love the scene. I love the dynamic. I love that she's following rules. It's all rule driven with her, where it's like, they're not a signatory world, and we have many of those worlds who have the exact same distress call that we're not answering because we're already, at our limit with resources and things like that.
Right, which makes sense, and she's trying to let's incentivize worlds to join by, not helping the ones that don't join.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit, mean-spirited, and actually it was a great line where he's like, it's a very imperial way of thinking. It was a great exchange there. Yeah. And I'm just still curious about her motivations. Grant, I do think she might have gotten a promotion after capturing Pershing.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder why they hang on the pendant or the medal that's like the red and the black and white. It's just sort of like a signifier that
you're imperial.
Like they didn't take that off and give her a formal New Republic ranking, which I was just like, oh, like you think people in that room would be in New Republic, sort of like of New Republic rank.
Yeah, I think it's a scarlet letter.
It is. I mean,
yeah, it is. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean that's what it is, but it's
gonna be Adam's weekly. Star Trek did it first.
This happens weekly here. If you're upset by that.
In the series Voyager, that begins with them taking on members of the Maquis, which are these like rebel forces, and they all get stranded in the Delta Quadrant. And the first season is all about them integrating the two crew members, and the Maquis always have a separate signifier on their patch for a while, which is a big long discussion of like, do we take those off or not? Does that allow us to come together, or does it divide us? So I had that same thought when I was watching. I'm like, I don't know if that's good practice. Like making people wear a symbol, identifying them,
as different.
Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, I think her main goal is just to not have the New Republic out in the Outer Rim. I think that was the major overarching goal. Is just the less eyes out there, the better for whatever Thrawn is doing out there.
I'm feeling like less and less that we're going to get Thrawn this season, even though it seems like, they may need it just logistically to get him in there, but I kind of hope there's a Thrawn reveal. But I think that we're gearing towards another battle with Moff Gideon.
I think there's another shoe to drop with the Pershing storyline, and I think that might be related to the final cameo of the season. And I think Gideon's obviously there, but I think you have Thrawn and Gideon. I think what's fun about Giancarlo Esposito is he's such a intelligent, cunning villain that you almost want another highly cunning character right next to him so they can duel a little bit. Like it's great for Thrawn too. Like who's Thrawn going to bounce off of if not Gideon? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like Yeah, I have to think.
Yeah, he
Thrawn's
needs
in the
commanders that are in on this, right? That are
Yeah.
that believe in it. And yeah, I'd be surprised if we get through the entire season without a Thrawn reveal, even if it might be after credit, end of episode, 8. But we'll see.
and the formations of the ties on Concordia and
Yeah,
like just how those tie formations, the framed like the Mandalorian Beskar in the Lambda shuttle, like that's like Thrawn thinking about framing Mandalorian. Like this is all just like for me, these are all sort of telltale signs of Thrawn.
but yeah,
working
Ben,
in
Jason's on your side. He doesn't think we're gonna get Thrawn until Ahsoka.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I kind of hope I'm wrong here because I think it would be fun.
Well, I'm
And
talking
I
about
do-
like in the
Those are- you're
shadows,
right.
red eyes illuminate. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
Thrawn is
We're not gonna get, like, a
step
full
out
scene.
and give them like a monologue. I'm talking about like these.
Yeah.
It's gonna start. We're gonna get the first breadcrumb at the end of this season. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah, remember end of Mando season 2? We get the Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Little-
I thought
little
I
thing
thought it was
is-
Boba Fett in the beginning of this episode because I walked out of the room and came back in.
Oh, funny.
And I heard a ship and like the roaring engine of a ship, and I was like, "Is this just Boba's ship just like flying around the galaxy right now?" And then it was what was a Mon Cala cruiser? What was the ship? I guess we're talking about the episode we'll cover after this.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
What else? Just general thought. This episode, and we'll talk about this again in the next episode. These episodes are starting to feel more and more like episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels to me.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean that as a critique, but just as an observation. And I don't know what it is about them. I think it's kind of the standalone nature a little bit in the adventure,
Yeah.
whatever, but it's interesting. Yeah.
It's sort of like they hedge their bets a little bit. There's like they spend maybe 15% of the episode pushing the story along, and then there's like this encapsulated adventure story in the like vignette in the middle of it that does kind of serve the thing, but it's like everywhere they go, someone's giving them a new job.
It's also highly tropey. Like animation relies on tropes heavily, and like this show also does that. And so that's like we kind of like every time we go somewhere, a new location, we immediately understand what this location means because they're actually operating on old tropes and television or whatever.
Do we want to do you want to talk about tropes that didn't work for me?
Yeah, let's
you want to get negative just for a second.
Not?
And I would say I actually really like this episode. So it was just one thing that kind of threw me is when Bo-Katan was like giving her speech to the Mandos to get them like ready to go, and we're like, what are we doing here? And then when I think the line I should have written it down, but the line both times I watched this through me was just like something like, oh, you were hiding in the caves and now you're gonna fight. I'm like, okay, like it just felt so cliche for some reason, that rousing speech. I'm like, we just had a rousing speech. Everyone's roused. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. It was the show needed 3 rousing speeches just to get the Mandalorians to move somewhere. And I was like, there's no one with enough charisma just to like rally everyone. We have to just hear about Paz's son and how no one was willing to save him. Yeah. And that's what does it. I was like, oh God.
I don't know. I love that. I thought that was the best speech of the show was Paz Vizsla. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I liked that. Yeah, it was a good.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just fun. It wasn't like, I don't know, with the helmets on. It's fascinating. It's an interesting experiment given like everyone has a helmet on. Like you can't see any gesture,
emotion.
There's no expression. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. So it was interesting. It didn't fully work, but it was great. Like I loved it. I don't know. It was
It definitely, with the helmets on, it's a lot of it's reliant on the score. Often,
love the Mandos chattering in
the walla
too.
Yeah.
It's like such hard walla. They're like no one's saying anything. You can't hear a single word.
That like is just is a little incredulous. It's like the Mandos are just like everyday Mandos. Like they're just like I guess they're just followers. Like there are no other strong spirited warriors in that group. It's just that's weird to me because every Mando to me feels like this great warrior and this warrior code, and it's like Mandalorian extras is just a little weird to me. Like, it's all.
Yeah.
I kind of want one in the background of the room, their helmet, and just be like, "I'm Bill. Who are
Yeah.
you?" Like,
That's almost what it seems like back in there.
Yeah, I know. I've had that same thought, Grant, where I'm like, the background ones are kind of just
Background
just
Mandos
whatever.
is a little weird to me. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
every
Yeah.
one of them should be like an important samurai or something. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. So you remember, I think it was several podcasts ago, but I was like sort of expressing my not impressedness with their outfits. that is changing. That's changing rapidly. And then I sent it to you guys. I don't know if you saw it, but someone on Reddit has now gone like through every mention of the background Mandos and has like deciphered that there's like 4 sects. There's like the, Paz Vizsla's like people, and then there's this other group, and he thinks this group is a couple based on like what they do, the odd job they perform. So there's like themes. They're becoming real characters.
Do they have sigils? Do the other Mandos have sigils? Because like I'm not recognizing any like silhouettes or like logos on.
So Clan Vizsla does have. They have the old Death Watch sigil on their left pauldron. So it's like, it looks like 4 claw marks or something. So those are there. So he's got like his group, and then there's like a couple others. There's one guy in orange named Judge, or he was the judge of that fight between Grogu and Ragnar.
Oh, nice. I love when those characters get canonized. It's like, remember the judge who like there for the kid?
Yeah. Din Djarin just calls him Judge, but he's like the judge.
He's canonized as the judge.
Yeah. And then
darts. He was like, he thought darts being fired at a baby was a completely okay thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know about Judge now.
It'll be fine.
About it. Second thought, maybe not a great guy.
Even better if he's not a great guy, honestly.
He's like, darts, baby, go.
Go. Shoot that baby with darts.
Like, let's take a couple more seconds to think about this.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So anyway, I'm saying they're growing in my heart, growing a space in my heart, especially after this episode, when we finally get the assault on Navarro. There's one with like a blue helmet with like sort of this black like tassel things off their waist. I forget what they're called, obi or something. And then there's a lot of great action sequences in here with the Mandalorians, and they're doing pretty great stuff. We got a solid armorer in battle.
We did.
Scene too.
I also love that she has an introductory shot now. Whenever she's in battle, they do the same shot of her, like from behind, with the
lowering
hammer.
the hammer.
Yeah.
But I agree. It was really good to see Mandos being Mandos again in this episode, and like that's when like when they started in battle, I'm like, oh yeah, they're an elite fighting force. They're taking on pirates. Like I'm like, if I sat there and was watching the first time, I'm like, if the pirates kill even one of the Mandos in this episode, I'm kind of out on the Mandos, because I'm like, they're pirates, and they didn't, right? They got through. I don't think we lost anyone. Some people got knocked around a little bit, but they all made it out.
Yeah,
and
I
so
think that's Bo's leadership though too, because Bo is like, we're gonna be in tight military formations, like this is going to be a highly tactical sort of operation. And you see like the drop them, like that shot was insane. Like them dropping down to the streets, fighting on the streets, Paz with his like light machine gun or whatever that is, the giant.
There's nothing light about that
rifle.
machine gun. The thing should be like mounted on a like.
I know. Every time I start thinking about how that thing works, it starts breaking my brain. I'm just like, nope, just stop it. Just enjoy.
Something like Baze Malbus from the from Rogue One and the Guardians of the Wills. He was like, I'll just use a tank weapon. It's precedented.
Yeah.
I loved all that stuff. I think you see the Kowakian monkey lizards in the tree. They like point out the pilot ambush. And they're like, and the Mandos like use their environment. You can see the Mandos are more cunning in terms of using the environment than their opposition, because they're like listening to the Kowakian lizards. Like it's just cool. Like it was neat to see them operate. I think the show needed that too, being called The Mandalorian. I think we eventually needed to see sort of like, what does like a team of Mandalorians look like? Like how does a warband operate? Like I can't wait to see that.
Which is why I think like the plan went exactly according to the plan, which doesn't happen very often. You know,
right?
Like they laid it out and they did everything they said they were going to do, and no one died, and they won. And it was like they just routed the pirates, destroyed the ship. It's over. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. No, I know. I kept waiting for the turn, right? To wait for something. And it was like, you got a little bit with the heavy blaster weapon, but then apparently that was the plan, because the armor was right there.
Yeah. The Trandoshan had awful aim. I was watching and I was like, oh no. Like
I mean,
The web,
especially for
like shot up like a pillar and then it's like a sandbag, and I was like, you're not like the Mandos are 20 yards away.
Yeah. Awful vision for something that has giant eyes and doesn't blink, and really bad hearing, because doesn't hear anyone coming up behind him. He's kind of like, why would you put
Tyson,
why would you put that guy on the guns? Like worst one to put on the gun.
They're pirates. They're so drunk right now. They're so drunk.
Oh, good point. They are hammered. We did watch them getting drunk.
Yeah,
quite a bit before that. All right, there we go.
Right. Vane was back in this episode too, as well as Gorian.
Little
Ugnaught too, the little Ugnaught character. That's like the assistant.
So yeah, we can talk about Gorian Shard for a second. There was a lot of rumors online that he was going to be the big bad in Skeleton Crew.
Whoopsie daisy.
Not so much. Maybe not.
Not if it happens after 9 years ABY.
Yeah, probably not.
They're pretty lucky that Cumulus class frigate didn't land on the city.
I had the same thought when they're doing this. I'm like, guys, careful. Like,
yeah.
You're shooting out all the engines directly above a populated area. Like, maybe not.
I know. That ship skeleton.
DC movie?
Yeah, that ship skeleton's gonna look so cool in ruins in the hills, though. It's gonna look awesome.
That's definitely an episode in season 4.
Oh yeah. So Vane though hightails it. So that's not for nothing, right? Like, there's no reason to do that unless that character's coming back.
I actually love that character. I think that character is incredible. I think it's one of the better characters they've added in terms of enemies. He seems seriously devious. He seems like he just, his morals have no bottom. Like it's going to be bad. Whatever he does next is going to be terrible, and it's going to be fun to watch. So
right on.
Agreed. To me, the most nerve-wracking moment in the entire episode is watching Paz Vizsla walk downstairs.
He doesn't look like he does a lot of ab workouts there. Not a lot of hip workouts.
I was just like, and it's just like I saw a comedy routine about being over 40, being under 40, about getting up on chairs and how someone's over or under. And I was just watching that going, ooh, careful. And then you have Bo-Katan just like boop, 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 right behind him, just like jauntily walking down the stairs. Yeah.
Bo-Katan. Shout out to Bo-Katan. I think she's just rising as one of the coolest characters in this series. So I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, I mean, she is the Mandalorian of this season.
Yeah, she's the Mandalorian. As far as given this week's episode, given what we watched today, I mean, transparency. We basically watched the new episode today. We're about to pot about it in a couple minutes here, but it's all about Bo. Bo really is central to this story. So.
Yeah, I mean, both of these episodes. So in the episode we're talking about now, 21. So all of a sudden the armorer believes her about the mythosaur. Like it took her a while to come to grips with it. Yeah. She's got the mythosaur pauldron, obviously. And then the armorer does an interesting thing where she's like, she taps Bo to recruit more Mandalorians and says, this is, you straddle both worlds. Which is sort of like, I didn't really understand, but it actually gives it a little clarity. It's like, the Children of the Watch are a tribe that have a set of beliefs, but there's other Mandalorians with different sets of beliefs. Wait, what? So Adam is holding up Hero of a Thousand Faces.
2 worlds?
Yeah, straddles 2 worlds. It's all. This is so Campbellian what they're doing with Bo-Katan. And I wanted to pull up, I got to find the circle so we can keep talking. Because I'm like, she was just given her quest, right? Like, she's leaving on her quest. Like, it is.
Yeah.
Through the trials, she's now the master of 2 worlds. I feel like through the trials with Din, the rebirth, as well as living as a Mandalorian outside the Creed for many years after losing the Darksaber, and all of that stuff is all a hero's journey as well. The sort of just losing the world that you knew. Like being the leader of the Mandalorians, and that all taken from you, and now she's coming back to it, which is really cool. It's going to be fun to see and obviously, without spoiling what happens next in the episode today, it's clear that she is the Mandalorian of this season. It's clear. Yeah,
I mean, it's why it's a great title for a show, right? It's not the Din Djarin Adventures or it's the Mandalorian, and it can follow a different Mandalorian or Mandalorians every season.
Though I have to say, especially like we're up to this point, we're just still in episode 21 right here.
Yeah.
Din, I feel like Din does everything and Bo gets most of the credit. Or Din does most of the things to achieve whatever, like the heroic stuff, and then Bo seems to then be like, Bo, you did it, you know?
Bo just never had a good number 2. That's
Yeah.
all. That's how I see it.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it is
Din
her
just
plan.
a solid number 2. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
It's
just
her plan both the things that she's done, right? Which is rescue the child,
Right.
right? Rescue but like in both those cases, Din Djarin is the one who kind of finishes it. But I think isn't that who you want as the leader, the person who can develop the plan?
Yes.
And he's just a great number. You know,
see.
it's
I
great you were
wouldn't be
saying,
surprised if there's
2.
a romance angle to come. Like,
Oh yeah.
You're shipping.
Oh, I'm shipping
have
them
you
hard.
met a
Boned in.
Star Wars fan today?
Yeah.
Have you spoken to a Star Wars fan today?
I have not.
Just like just
Except for you.
passing. Have you in passing?
No, I like radio
With the
silence.
Star Wars. I think they'd like a romance sooner than later in the story.
There was something in the minds of Mandalore where she looked like she was feeling some kind of way about Din. There was something about her authenticity and her reverence towards her past father. That was when she was like, this guy can hang.
And then
Yeah.
there was the episode. I think it was the same episode, but when they were flying like next to each other, they were, like,
Yeah.
they were serious. There were some vibes for sure.
Right on. Well, we're obviously the gods of romance here. So, we.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, You've come to the right place if you want to learn about romance right here.
Yep,
Between these three.
that's it.
We read the comics and we read the High Republic books. There's lots in there.
That's true, especially in the High Republic, man.
There is. If you're lucky, we'll do a Pillar of Star Wars romance edition. Yeah. Shall we jaunt on to episode 22, Hired Guns?
Do it.
That's good.
All
Ben,
right.
I think you got the summary.
Yes, and so for Jason, this is your spoiler wall, and for anyone else who hasn't watched this episode that just came out mere hours ago, it's going on right now. So here's the Morlana drop. And this is episode 22, Hired Guns. We start this episode with West Side Story in space as fugitive forbidden lovers flee Mon Cala. They are swiftly recaptured by Axe Woves aboard a stolen Imperial cruiser, and we establish what the remains of Bo-Katan's fleet and tribe have been up to. We then jump to Bo, Din, and Grogu on the way to Axe Woves' base on Plan 015, where they are rerouted to the heart of the city by automated droid systems. Our team is brought to the two leaders of the Outer Rim, of this Outer Rim's last democratic utopia, in the form of Lizzo and Jack Black. The Duchess and Chancellor task the Mandalorians with solving the case of the malfunctioning droids. Bo and Din are on the case that leads them through the Droid Control Center and Security Bureau, the Ugnaught Workroom, a droid-run dock system, a droid bar, and a lab, and then ultimately back to the Security Control Center and the culprit, Christopher Lloyd, a.k.a. Commissioner Hellgate. He's then brought to justice. The Mandalorians are gifted a key to the city, a knighthood for Grogu, and access to Axe Woves' covert. Bo and Axe battle for leadership of the vast Mandalorian army. Bo wins, but is not named leader until Din relinquishes the Darksaber to Bo as the rightful owner due to Bo saving Din on Mandalore.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
It was a lot, and it wasn't a fraction of what it was, because there was so just skipped through 45 minutes of action and lore drops and cameos and holy cow, this was a fun episode.
So much.
Yeah, it was really fun. I had a journey with this episode, man. I went from all right, cool, this is fun, and then I'm like, whoa, where are we? Oh wait, Jack Black and Lizzo, and then I'm like, you know what? This is wonderful. I'm all in. I'm like, we're just gonna do a Law and Order.
In a completely different direction there, Adam.
No, right? No, it just threw me, and then by the end of the episode, I'm like, best episode ever? No, but I really loved it. And then, I mean, hey, just to do, I think part of it is they will play with genre, and suddenly we have an episode of Law and Order in space, right? And I'm like, all right, cool, why not?
Yeah,
Law
I think
and
the
Order.
commentary, the political commentary, was fascinating in this episode.
It was interesting.
And the Hellgate's reverence for Dooku,
Dooku
that to
name
me
drop.
just blew my mind. I was like, oh, we have a separate, like, we rarely get stories about those people who have like the diehard separatists who are like, who basically I think are like truthers who think that they like have always known the Empire was bad, and when it rose up they always knew it was going to rise up, and they had all their like weird conspiracy theories validated, and so they're probably they have this fixed viewpoint. Like they're so driven towards the separatist goals of Duke, things like that. Like that was fascinating. I was like, we haven't seen that.
No, super interesting. And the idea of like, we talk about how many people know that, Leia is Darth Vader's daughter. They talk about that in like, was it Bloodlines? I think it comes out
right now, basically.
I think ish.
Pretty much like right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a great side piece of information.
Yeah.
Actually.
Just through the news, like everyone hearing it, like just a moment in a bar where everyone like kind of hears the news breaking. But like, and the thing is like everyone knows Emperor Palpatine's a Sith, or do they? All this stuff. But like, who knew that Dooku was a Sith? Like, it probably never would have come out, right? Because of the order of things. Because by the time it happened, by the time I found out, Order 66 happened, and then no one was going to come forward with that news. So like, everyone just thinks Dooku was this political animal, right?
It's almost like his sovereign title of Count outweighed like alignment to Sith or Jedi or any of that stuff. He was just seen as this wealthy aristocrat from Serena or something, and a politician, and not, like you're saying, Adam, and not really a Jedi or a Sith. I feel
yeah, and it just occurred to me how key it was that Anakin killed him. Because
very key,
right? Because Commissioner Hellgate,
Christopher Lloyd,
key to Palpatine,
to Palpatine, right? Because he was like the Jedi cut him down in his prime, and then gets shot with a dart, which I thought was actually a nice parallel. It's like, no, they do use those darts actually, but you never would have been able to blame the Jedi if Anakin didn't do that. As far as everyone knows, he was this virtuous person, and then But then Palpatine whispering in his ear, he's too dangerous to be kept alive. It's like, what? He's an old man. I mean, I guess with the Force, but like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Christopher Lloyd was great. Christopher Lloyd going over the footage of the malfunctioning droids is like one of the greatest Star Wars moments of all time. I was like, this is another perfectly casted character. Just like Tim Meadows, like him talking about each droid and how they malfunction. It was like perfect. I was like, that's what you get Christopher Lloyd for, is to talk about weird, wacky tech and science stuff going haywire. That's like why you get him.
Yeah, it's like you do it where it doesn't feel like too referential to Back to the Future, right? But it totally makes sense that that's that character. And I just they're in love with that with the butcher droid. Once again, makes another.
Wait, what happens to that footage? Do those people get cut?
Bad things happen.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking, because like Christopher Lloyd's face in that is like, yeah.
Well, we're really, I mean, we're bearing the lead by not talking about Lizzo and Jack Black.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're huge characters, and when they appear, you almost forget you're in Star Wars. Like,
I did.
And they're so well known that like you're just like, oh, it's Lizzo and Jack Black.
Yeah.
You're kind of taken out for a second, but then when you understand that casting as well, because they're the leaders of this weird direct democracy, and they're everything's all good and like good vibes. And I was just like,
no one works. It's just like art and like
Grogu loves Lizzo.
That was hilarious. That was so great. That was such a great moment. Yeah.
It's
Ben, did you just stand up when that happened?
Oh, absolutely. Because it's like, again, there's like no difference between Grogu's like facial expressions and my dog's. Like my dog has the same ears and does the same thing with them. So I get it. When she's like cradling him and like petting his head and his eyes like get squinty, I'm like, that's what happens.
That was the most Audrey moment, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. I thought that was, it's so adorable and just so funny. And like, Grogu's just making friends throughout the galaxy, being like living his best life. It's like he's still able to be a child. He's not being dragged through these bloodbath battles. He's not put in any real danger. I mean, even though you don't want to leave your kid with some strange people, but it's Lizzo. Sure. It's Lizzo.
Yeah. It's all right. It's fine.
What is it? Jack Black's like Prince Bombador or something? Bombard?
Bombardier, I think, or something.
I might not leave Grogu with him.
Yeah. It is like a very Empire name. It's like they don't hire you unless like you have some sort of piece of artillery in your name or something wicked.
I mean, how could the guy named Hellgate possibly
Yeah.
be a bad guy?
They intentionally didn't release his name till like after you know it's him. They're like, it's
Yes.
Commissioner Hellgate, and you're like, wait a second.
Of course, it was
Something
Commissioner
sticks
Hellgate.
out.
Yeah.
Why didn't we just start and stop there? And the thing about it is like if you were gonna tell me that like the two like Jack Black and Liz's characters were gonna be pivotal roles in Mando going forward, I might be a little like, wait, what are we doing now? But like for the tone of the episode, I think they fit completely, and it that's what really threw me. And it's not even anything against the two of them because I love them both, but it's just anytime I see a character, it was like my Woody Harrelson issue with for a long time with Solo. Like I'm like, he's too well known, and I got over that because that character's great. And it's just one of those things. It takes me a while to come back to be like, okay, it's okay that you know the actor, Adam. It's fine. That's allowed. Actors are allowed to be known outside of the one thing.
Yeah.
I love when Adam's inner voice comes on the pod.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah. It's a very soothing voice.
Yeah, like,
Lizzo's cape, I think, wins
so
for
good.
best drip.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Oh,
that
yeah.
cape was like a floating CG cape. I was like, this is.
I don't know. I think Jack Black's facial hair and hair win for best drip.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like Lizzo's
is the thing.
hologram, like
Yeah,
back flower or whatever. That was dope. I thought they looked fantastic.
it is a tough look, like compositing them with like a white skyline. Like I was like, it's just Jack Black's hair. Like you have to get in every little crevice of the hair to make the maybe it's volume at that point.
It's tough. There was a million rubber masks at that table too. It was, they're doing their best, but I think at this point it's like, it's Star Wars. I'm just going to do a little greatest hits off the top of my head of the species that were around that table. Yeah. Because we saw Sulistans for the first time. Nine nubs species there. We saw Ishtib, which are the ones with the stocky eyes and the beak and the weird beak.
Love an Ishtib.
Yeah, we got Rhodians, of course. I didn't see any Twi'leks, but they might have been there as well.
I would assume they were. They always are.
I assume there were. Yeah, were there Mon Cala? And I mean, I guess we had Quarren. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So
well, in the beginning of the episode,
those are the ones that stick out in my mind right now. But there was it was a roll call. They emptied the mask closet for that dinner. Which is like, this is a democracy and everyone's invited and we believe in, whatever.
It did feel like the architecture it did kind of feel like the Venus Project or this super utopian sort of like white futurist architecture.
Yeah.
Loved that stuff. Loved the little term, the tram that they take to the harbor.
Well, they called it a
hyperloop. I guess
hyperloop.
before they go to the harbor, we get to go to the sub-levels, guys, and we get to go to the Ugnaughts.
Oh, it is known.
Yeah.
I have spoken.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was awesome. Kind of far-fetched that they like know who Queel is, but I don't. It's what I forget. I was like, I guess they know each other. I guess he was of great note to them.
It also could be that they just recognized the way Din Djarin was speaking to them, that he was familiar with. So it might even not be like, I don't know who Queel is, but that is that could be. It sounds like a name, and he's speaking to us the way that we should be spoken to. But I agree. The other thing, just before I forget, just so we talk about it, is like this is another Bryce Dallas Howard episode.
That's right. Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah, Peter Ramsey did the episode beforehand. Should shout out to both directors
for sure, both great. But like Bryce Dallas Howard, I think is like slowly just over the past 3 seasons become like the standout director of Mandalorian. I'm really like if they end up doing I wonder if it's gonna be like culminate in a movie. Probably a Disney Plus movie. But if they do, or if it's in the theaters, give it to her. Give it to her to direct. She knows how to direct these giant action scenes, these giant set pieces. The episodes she does just look brilliant, and they're also tonally very different from each other.
Yeah, she's done a lot of different vibes for Star Wars. Right, she did like my favorite Mandalorian episode of all time, which was in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, me too.
Which happens to be a Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, happens to be there. But she's great. And I mean, Rick Famuyiwa is also, he's executive producing the whole season and obviously writing. He's another one. I would totally agree with you on Bryce Dallas Howard, but Rick Famuyiwa, I would give him a trilogy tomorrow.
Oh, I'd be so happy if they gave him that. He's
still my favorite
good.
episode of Mando.
Yeah, same.
Episode 2.
Yeah,
episode 2.
I'm wondering with Bryce Dallas Howard that like I remember our coverage of the episode she did in the first season.
Oh, yeah.
We were like, it's a little bit
on
of a retread of Seven Samurai. It's
Yeah.
Warrior comes to defend village from attackers, and it's like from then on, all of her episodes have had more of a message and more of something to say.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
I almost feel like now when she does an episode, she's like, we're gonna say something here. And
Yeah.
the episode she did in Book of Boba Fett, which is amazing, basically the whole Darksaber, all the speech, all the Mando lore, all that stuff. That was awesome. Like that was a cool new location. Like everything felt fresh, and this new lore was being spun. And now in this episode, this political commentary is amazing, and just the process stuff and just how the society works. It's so much going on in this episode as well that like she's just evolved in the sort of the landscape of Star Wars storytelling. It's been fun to watch that evolution because the first episode, semi-basic. Now it's just getting into really, really fun and neat ideas. I think she's going to interesting places, and she should do a movie. I definitely agree with Adam in terms of like, let's get Bryce Dallas Howard on a movie. I think when she makes a Star Wars, she wants to say something. I think that's what you need at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And her with a full like, $200 million budget or whatever would be like, she could do a lot of good. And we know she can handle the scale and all that. Yeah, I mean, that first episode she was given, the like Seven Samurai one, was like, I think that was a tough one. They might have given it to her because they wanted a heavyweight to deal with, like to tell
right.
that
It's like
story.
if we're going to do an homage to one of the
Kurosawa.
greatest films ever made, let's get a great and the daughter of a great and make this right.
I definitely need to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah. I wouldn't hate in the future them like going to a foreign country to like someone who makes samurai films full time now. I mean, obviously there's a million Kurosawa disciples everywhere around the globe, but like actually just like go to like someone who's in that genre, like specifically, and be like, dude, do a samurai film right now. Like in one episode,
I think after the success of Mando, I think Wayward Samurai, like a serialized Wayward Samurai type thing might find more success. And I think that's what Ahsoka essentially is going to be, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we know Filoni was studying Kurosawa almost exclusively in preparation for Ahsoka, from one of the director's cuts behind the scene vids they did.
And I mean, and we'll talk about it, or we will have talked about it, depending on how you listen to these episodes on podcast form. But like, I feel like they are starting to silo types of directors into shows now that they have multiple shows. So I would be surprised, like you're saying, Grant, with Ahsoka, if they start kind of getting more people involved in from samurai films in that, or something that you wanted, Ben. Like I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to get a multicultural point of view and just like and some specialists in there. Like you could really stylize a Mandalorian episode towards a samurai film, and I think it would be I don't know, do subtle things that are calling cards of different genres.
Yeah, and I'd argue the volume looks great in these combat or battle scenes. Like in just one-on-one sword fighting could look great in the volume because we wouldn't focus on it at all, and we'd really just think about the swordsman in front of us. And I think it would be a smart use of the volume.
Yeah. I agree. I just as my weekly volume count moment where I just saw them. I think they were running away from the malfunctioning droids at some point, and they're running, and I'm like, well, they got to cut to. Oh, there they cut, because I'm like, they're gonna hit the end of the. They're gonna hit the wall.
Chases,
and
then they cut. Like it's just, like you could almost count like how far they had the distance. Sorry. As well as I was like, volume. It looks great, but
Yeah, that's the limitation, and that's that will timestamp it forever. Be like, oh yeah, that's when the volume wasn't.
But a
6
slow
foot feels long.
sword fight,
exactly.
By Dave Filoni, as seen in that Ahsoka chapter of season 2,
so
like that all day. Let's go! Like it looks incredible for that stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. So we have this whole heist, and it's great. Do you think so that they're feted when they return to the Duchess and Jack Black, and so Grogu gets knighted for helping her play win at space croquet. But like, do you think that's gonna play sometime later, the knighthood? I mean, he is a Jedi Knight, kind of.
I think that was kind of the joke they were going for, but I don't know if that's ever going to come up again. But who knows with this show?
Yeah,
I think the Lizzo Grogu connection is one of the all-time greatest connections of all time, and will just create this enduring sort of like swag that
Yeah.
Grogu will always have from here on is
That he
that
picked up
he's
from
tied with
Lizzo.
and she knighted him, and like, yeah, that's his backstory now.
I mean, that's
you
the
know?
thing is like you just never know. Like I'm totally blanking on names, but it's Amy Sedaris' character,
Peli
what,
Mota.
Peli
Peli.
Mota. If you had asked me, are we ever going to see this character again after the first time we saw it? I'm like, no, it's a great one-off kind of thing. But no, she's in it so
true.
much, and it's great, but it's clearly because of the connection with Grogu. So yeah, I'm starting to be like, yeah, we might pop into this ever so often, or she might pop up on a vid screen ever so often to talk to
Yeah.
baby Grogu.
I mean, now they have a debt to them. I mean, if they actually, so this is the other thing, right? So in the last episode, the big, I don't know, goal or the big gift that was given for completing their quest was a home in the sun, like a giant tract of land where you're not getting attacked by giant monsters all the time, and commerce and all the things.
Sweltering hot,
Yeah,
lava, no big deal.
can't go swimming, but there's a lot of water.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a great place. I think everyone sort of agrees. Like kids always getting dragged off by dragons, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I think, I think Navarro is a nice home for them. And then now they've got Senate lobbyists on their on their team, which is sort of just which said they'd campaign to give Mandalore back to Mandalorians, which seems like a pretty easy sell. It's just like, oh, you want this destroyed planet that was yours in the first place? Like whatever.
Yeah,
At least
who else
they've got a
has
voice.
a claim on it,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see that happening. So these are huge pieces in the quest to reclaim Mandalore that are being laid out here, and another big dub for Bo.
Yeah, it's kind of clunky when they explicitly speak in exposition about that. They're like, "Oh, we can retake Mandalore with these ships."
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, well, we
So-
could have just talked around that a little bit." I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, it is what it is.
I was like, I guess we're retaking Mandalore with these ships at some point.
Yeah.
All right. That's happening in the show at some point.
I'm now worried about the armor and her heel turn, possibly, because here's what I just thought about what happened these last two episodes. So Din Djarin gives this rousing speech to say, like, hey, we have a tract of land, we can live here, right? Great. Everyone follows them. The armor says nothing, but Paz Vizsla stands up for Din Djarin. They accomplish the task. They get this tract of land, and then immediately following that, the next scene we see is the armor saying, "You know what, Bo? I do suddenly believe you. I'm gonna go and task you, and we need to take back Mandalore." That's a weird, because I was watching it going, why are we suddenly taking back Mandalore if we have a tract of land? And it's because she doesn't want Din Djarin being the leader.
Wait, you got to connect those dots for me a little better. Why does that mean that she doesn't want? Oh, because Din Djarin suggested this home.
Yeah, this is Din Djarin's home, and now he's the one who's given the home to all these Mandalorians. Right. And then suddenly she's like, "Oh no, we're gonna go get our better old home back now." For whatever reason.
You think it's for power reasons, not her, not the creed, right? Not because that's her ultimate goal. It's like, let's not get sidetracked with this little pithy piece of land when the real goal is we need to take our home back.
No, because I think she would have said that if that was the goal. Okay. Does that make sense? Because that is easily saying, like, this is great, but we should go get back our old home. Like, that is where we belong. But she just circumvented everything and suddenly brought Bo-Katan over to, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing about the armor is at this point in the storytelling, it would be very boring if she didn't have a hidden agenda. It would just be a cut and dry, she makes armor.
Yeah.
And leads them,
and
is the
proves
voice
whoever
of
is
wisdom.
the strongest.
Unless she either has to do that or she has to sacrifice herself in an Obi-Wan move at some point soon. Like, that's kind of it.
She doesn't walk, across a star field, down a bridge walkway, and speak to Thrawn in some alarming, surprising moment where you're just like, oh my god, she's in line with this guy.
Yeah,
something like that.
She's working with Thrawn.
Are you guys done? Because I disagree with both of you.
All right, that was speculation.
Done piling
Can
on.
we get to the droid bar? Are we there yet?
We kind of skipped over the droid bar. We'll go back, but I just have to say,
give Ben his equal time.
Give me three sentences here. Right. Adam, I adore the fact that you want to make evil armor a thing, but evil armor is not going to be a thing. I think she is a lore machine, and they need her for the story to just spout lore and keep them on task. And I think, like I've said before, I think she is the wise wushu master on the mountain that just churns, almost an oracle figure, churns out this stuff that just keeps the adventures flowing and the missions going, and and just gives a sense of history to the whole show. Otherwise, without her, who's going to make their armor, and B, they're just like a ragtag group of, guys in armor, like a militia. So yeah, I think
She's definitely a Gandalf vibe. I mean,
Yes.
we know Filoni loves Tolkien. She's definitely has this Gandalf vibe that I've been sensing.
Yeah, I think maybe that's it. She always looks like her shots are always set up ominously, but as opposed to like reverently. Well, she's set up reverently a lot of times too. But I think they just need her, and I love the fact that yes, that's all she is. That's what she does.
Yeah.
And she she hangs to the back, and then she's one of their best warriors, if not their best warrior.
It just does feel like a hanging mystery, though. Like
Yes.
throughout this show, as it goes on, there's just a lot of her talking cryptically, and like it seems like
those
she's
horns, man.
moving the pieces. Like, who's moving the pieces here? I feel like she is more than anyone else moving the pieces on the board.
What if we can thread the needle? So what if she's working for Thrawn because she?
my gosh.
No, listen.
Here we go.
Listen,
Here we go.
Tinfoil hats.
Listen to this.
Because she wants Mandalore back, but she didn't have an army or any ships, and she had a deal with Thrawn to help rescue Moff Gideon in order to have him help her take back Mandalore. Now she sees an opportunity to get out of that deal because of all these things so now she's actually not bad, but she's realizing she has to get out of this. She can get out of this deal because she actually has an army now that she can use to go get Mandalore back.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
like plausible. That's plausible.
I mean, because I'm expecting a
she doesn't want
monster
Mandalore
turn
back.
at some point,
Yeah.
somehow, right? That could be it. I mean, that could be the thing.
Yeah.
Because it's fine. She's an armor. She's the heart and soul of Mandalorian culture. That's great.
Yeah.
She's in the show and sort of pontificating quite a bit to the point where you're just like, there's something else going on.
Yeah,
with
there's something else. Good
There's
or bad.
something else
There's something
happening.
else going
Yeah.
on.
So wait, are you saying Adam Thrawn doesn't want the Imperial arsenal? He wants the Mandalorian arsenal?
No, that I think he needs her help to break out Moff Gideon, and that the deal she makes is fine. I'll do that. You help me take back Mandalore.
Okay. And that
And
was
he's
the
been known to
deal with the
use-
devil sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's been known to use people's culture against them, basically. That's his big tactic, is like, oh, this is what you believe in, and this is what you have an undying sort of desire to accomplish. Like, oh, let me help you with that.
Yeah.
But you have to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's Thrawn's thing, man. He's gonna be a fun character to play with when they bring him back in live action.
And you got to think he's going to be commenting on Mandalorians at some point, I imagine.
Yes.
I would think so. Yeah.
Did you want to talk droid bar before we get into the last scene here?
I didn't catch the name of the liquid that they're ingesting.
It's
the little nano drones that they're ingesting.
It is Nepenthe.
Nepenthe. That's going to come back in many different forms.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
Great name. Great noun.
Great name. Yeah. I loved that scene. I love seeing all the droids. I think that the droid bartender is now iconic. Like,
Yes.
that whole moment is incredible. And I feel for that droid. And to talk about droid sentience, like, it really felt like that droid was had been through a lot and sort of had this experienced conditioning, or to the point where he felt sentient, like that droid specifically.
Yeah.
So.
And it was fun. It filled the gaps in like Din Djarin's sort of his blind spot. It's like, you see Din Djarin be very culturally relative all the time to everyone except droids. And it took Bo-Katan to be like, listen, like, this is, she's like, he's like, you can't reason with droids. She's like, it's like ones and zeros. All they do is reason.
Yeah.
And
They're
he's
reasoning
like,
machines.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that was again with Bryce Dallas Howard having something to say. That was such a fun commentary on AI, given like Bo is like, oh, they crunch numbers, but like, you should still be humane to them. And then he is just being threatening, like super threatening.
Yeah,
like, you never didn't act like this, basically.
Yeah.
It was basically villainous.
Kicking droids. And it was a very like Boba Fett, like the way Boba Fett would shake someone down. Like, I liked that. I liked that he was mean spirited there, even though it was tough to watch. Yeah, he was. Yeah. It was right for that battle droid to clock him in the head, like in the dome. Like, he deserved that. Yeah, and the other like social commentary that I've heard on like podcasts and things, but I haven't seen it much in popular video, is that like technology should be used to make our lives easier, not take our jobs, but make our lives better. And it takes a full political system to do that. But Yeah, I liked that. This was rife with that. They're like, this is a democratic utopia. We can think about democracy and like understand politics if we're not being wage slaves all the time.
Right. It's also commentary on the over reliance on AI.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Yeah, of like what. It was that discussion of like how much risk are you willing to put up with for luxury, right? Which is quite a bit. And that's I was also sitting there going, maybe like it's like the number of incidences and like the number of people that live there mathematically, but I mean it's to say it's just a social, not to get all sociological, but it's just the social contract, right? Like it's a different version of it, but the social contract is we give up certain amount of our freedoms for the luxury of living in a society that takes care of us in a lot of ways, right? And this is another version of that, right? And that the difference is that this is a direct democracy. So every person's voice counts equally. And they've all, as a society, decided on this, right? Which is interesting. It's very interesting.
The droid should get a vote too.
Yeah. And then the moment in the droid bar where he very eloquently just basically says, like, you all live so short and we just want to help, which is a really beautiful moment. I actually got choked up a little bit during that moment and hearing all the droids kind of agree and chittering and cheering. It was kind of beautiful.
He's like, you created us, we kind of owe you. And it was like, and you just have these short little lives, and we do what we can. It was great. That's something I think we all want. We want to see the droid Gotra, which is like the droid gang, but like civilizations of droids. And them trying to figure out what is their role in the galaxy.
And this is an interesting society that we haven't seen a lot or explored a lot in Star Wars with the droid bar, which again suggests that droids have downtime. And a social life, which is fascinating. Like it becomes more of like, oh man, this is really a utopia in a lot of ways. Like the droids are happy and don't feel overused or overworked, and that everyone gets everything.
They go to the oil bar.
Unless you're the one separatist.
I know. I was listening to a Smartless podcast with Jack Black months ago at this point. But they asked him like, oh, what genre have you not worked in much that you wanted? And he said sci-fi. And I was like, oh yeah, dude, definitely. You should be in a Star Wars. And then he probably had already shot the scene. But
those two would be the people who were democratically elected in a society that.
I know. If they were a ticket, there's gonna be like Lizzo Black 2024 stickers that are out there somewhere.
Speaking of, I'm waiting on the Black Series figures of both those characters. I will absolutely be buying both of those.
Oh yeah, they'll have to release those. I imagine. So cool. But then we finally find that what are the data chip or that was Spark card or something?
Yeah, the Spark card.
Spark card. You find out it's got those nanites in it or whatever, the nano droids, and it's all been bought. It was all. They follow the money, and it turns out it's Commissioner Hellgate who bought all that. Those nano droids and was basically causing these malfunctions.
And I love they did another little separatist tie-in where the nano droids were manufactured by the Techno Union Army.
Right? Yeah.
I was so excited for a second. I thought we would see. Me
too. I got excited for you.
I know it's my favorite, but one of these days. It's true, and it really does just turn into a police procedural for like 15 minutes in the middle of the show. Like it's amazing. They go to a morgue. They have like their morgue tech.
the morgue with
the thing
droid morgue.
I know she must have watched. Bryce Dallas Howard must have watched like either watches or to study watch, because there's a moment at the very end where like the tech goes back and is like reading the computer screen to them, and it's just that back and forth. You could lift it out of any episode of CSI or Law and Order or any of these things. And the moment that I just laughed so hard, enhance, exactly, But the lab tech gives her the information. Bo-Katan pats her on the shoulder as she leaves. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
But it's such a moment of any TV.
Jimmy Smits is like, pat her on the shoulder.
Pat her on the shoulder and leave. Like it's like I just laughed so hard. I'm like, it's so funny. Amazing. Yeah.
Oh man, that would be funny if Jimmy Smits consulted on that episode. That would be pretty fun. Let me show you how it's done.
It's quite good.
That's great. I'm glad you guys love that and picked up on that and shared it with me, because it was like, okay, I'm like, I've done this before, but even like the tape and they do the thing, but I love that. What a fun vignette. Shall we go to the confrontation with Axe Woves?
Yeah,
sure. Let's get to that.
So, first of all, pretty impressive arsenal of ships there. They had, one actual like light cruiser, but like destroyer that can do some damage. 2 of the Gozanti ships that I love so much, and then 6 or 8 of those Mandalorian fighters that I think have a pretty boring name. Actually, they don't have any cool names to them, but it's like a serial number or something that I don't know.
Right.
But that and like dozens of Mandalorians.
I mean, let's just call it what it was. This was a Mandalorian tailgate. I saw the folding chairs.
They were playing catch.
Football. They were playing catch.
They were playing catch. They were playing football. No, it was 100%
listening to
tailgate.
Godsmack.
They were like flags up. Yeah. It was like
It got real quick though.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, someone I saw on Reddit already found the mug that X-Woves was drinking out of is an actual like mug that was given away at some I forget. It's like actually branded with, I think it's Heineken gave those away at some point. But it's really like funny. This steel mug. So yeah, anyways. You're right, tailgate party. Pretty lit.
Bo comes out there, challenges Axe, they fight. That fight was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It was great.
Rocketing around and the flamethrower and all that stuff.
Yeah, they emptied the arsenal for both of them. Classic. I was weird they didn't wear helmets though. The more I see Bo-Katan's wig, the less I want to see Bo-Katan's wig.
Really? I think it's fine. For me, it's like, how cool would it have been if they both like helmet up and look at each other, take a beat, and then fight? Like that would have been a nice sort of like. Yeah.
Bo-Katan's armor just gets sicker and sicker. Like the white face with her like dark gunmetal like armor just looks cooler and cooler with like little highlights of blue. Yeah. It's like really expensive looking armor and like you said. And we've seen X-Woves before. He was one of the people that saved Din from the ship with the monster on it. Those like Quarren pirates that had tried to steal Grogu back in season 2. Episode 3 of season 2, I think. It's good to see X-Woves again. And I think he was probably also on when they stole that Gozanti cruiser. Yas.
I have no read on X-Woves. He just seems like, I don't know,
he's just a guy.
Soldier in the mix.
Yeah.
But
he's gonna fit in great with the rest of the covert. Sorry.
Yeah, he's fine to he's gonna fit in great. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Disappear into the background.
I was like, what charismatic leader has taken over since Bo left? I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, they need someone.
I thought at least it would have been that wrestler would have been leading them. That would have been fun.
I thought the other Mandalorian had way more screen time and fought Boba Fett and was all awesome. And I don't know.
Yeah, had more.
They're like, no, this guy knows.
I actually thought X-Woves died. I thought X-Woves got killed on one of those missions.
I know. I was just like, wait, is he still here? Like he's still around? Okay, cool.
I don't think he had a line in the episode in season 2.
He had a couple, but they were yeah. But it was like pretty small. I mean, more lines than all the covert background characters have, except for Judge.
I loved this episode. I think
the Judge
like Dave in episode 21. It's like chapter 21, should I say? It is just a little clunky when Din comes out and sort of like starts chatting about why the Darksaber belongs to Bo and just kind of like forcing that plot development. A lot of the plot developments in this season specifically have felt like engineered. Like it just feels like there's a little engineering happening at the very end sometimes, where it's like, hey, we have a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
How about this major shift in someone's motivations?
Yeah. Right.
It's like, okay, all right.
Let's go. They're moving really fast in this season. There's a lot like things that like, we didn't expect to see a mythosaur till the end. Like, they're really, it's fun. They're packing this season full of action, adventure, lore drops, movement of the plot, like really a lot. I don't know what the hurry is, but it's fun. But I think
they're setting the table for Thrawn. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah.
I think they have to get some characters in certain areas before they can introduce Thrawn. I think they have just setting that table.
Yep, I agree. I think it's a lot of setting the table up for other shows and that. But it doesn't. I don't know. As much as it's moving fast, it doesn't feel rushed. If that makes sense.
No, it doesn't feel rushed.
I'm enjoying it. I'm like, it's just with how slow the first season moves in a wonderful way. Like the first season is really just a kind of mostly standalone episodes and a couple of movements. and then suddenly you're at season 3, which is we're only 24 episodes. We're only one season. We're only one normal season into the show, if you think about it. Because old school TV was 24 episodes a season, which is wild to think about. Like, this is only 24. It's going to be 24 episodes at the end of the season. We've gone from like him kind of finding Baby Grogu to like bringing back all of Mandalore.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of a lot. And I kind of feel like this show doesn't start until Mandalore is reformed. You know, like that's when the real start of this show is going to be.
That's tough news for you, Ben. I have a feeling that's when the show ends. But
yeah.
Well, at this rate, they're going to do it this season. But yeah, I guess you could be right. Everyone's getting older and stuff. But you know, Grant, you were the one that said like, you know, he can't be Mandalore because he has to keep. You know, you want the lone wolf and cub thing, just like the wandering samurai story that you could literally tell forever.
Yeah. To me, that's. I romanticize about that idea basically because I think there's endless fun stories you could do there, and it makes Grogu and it takes all the judgment and criticism off them because then they get to have an endless story, and I think people are like, oh, I want to see it wrapped up, I want to see where they go, I want to see what Grogu is like when he's older. I'm like, I think you don't want those answers.
No,
I don't think you
just keep telling the stories as long as you can. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they could lose to Gideon and or Thrawn on Mandalore and then have to regroup and figure out a new tactic, and that's season 4, you know. Or I think it's just as likely that they reclaim Mandalore at the end of the season, and then, you know, and then we get something new next season. But I don't know. Based on the speed, that's what I'm thinking now. I've reset the goalposts just based on how fast we're going. But we will. See.
And again, it doesn't feel rushed. It just feels like you can see the pieces, and I don't know if they are intentionally kind of like trying to really show off that this is where the plot is going, or because you could do it in a far more subtle way. I think there's definitely an approach where you don't just have people, you know, give exposition about the direction of the Mandos and their motivation. I think there's another approach to it, but they're really just giving us that. So we're putting Bo at the leadership spot, and what that means for when, you know, Ahsoka starts and Thrawn enters the picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And like Sabine, there's a lot of fun pieces there have all interacted in the past. One last thing, I want to give a shout out to all the sweaty Reddit hardcores on the Star Wars subreddit who were like, well, actually, if the robot drops the sword and then technically he lost and then Bo-Katan picks it up, and like that was all I heard for like and read about for like the past 4 or 5 weeks, and I'll be darned, they're right.
Yeah. It was an elegant solution to a problem that we had been dealing with for quite a while. Like, do they do they have to fight, and does it has to be a fair fight?
Is it elegant, Adam? Is it elegant?
Well, yeah, this is the clunky bit where I'm like, she slayed my captor, and my captor took the sword, and she took the sword. Does it not belong to her? And I was like,
yeah.
It makes sense that you're saying this.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. It just felt like, just let her arrive with it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I find that a better solution because you have a couple other options. One, you have them fight, and then he loses on purpose. And what's going to happen is what happened to me when I was 17 and I was playing Twisted Metal with a friend who I literally played for 8 hours straight because I kept beating him. And every time I let him win, he knew I'd let him win, and he wouldn't stop it until he won. And I didn't sleep all night because he wouldn't leave me alone. And I don't want to see that in a TV show.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having flashbacks.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I think she would have beat Din, honestly, if they fought.
But that's the other option, right? Or she beats fair and square. And then that's kind of a weird situation, too. Like, this seems to me more like he doesn't want it. She wants it. He just did the loophole route, which is enough to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, and you know the other thing I was just thinking of, it's one thing to get Axe Wove's opinion on whether she deserves the Darksaber. It's another thing to go look at the armor and be like, does she deserve the thing? And it's like a lot of people withholding information this season, but she's like, you could have mentioned that earlier. Is she gonna banish him again and make him go back? Like,
right. What's the covert gonna think of that? You know what I mean? Like,
he's gonna be like, by the way,
must have fought.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing. Like, they know, like, they're pretty much blame her already for claiming the dark saber when she didn't deserve it the first time. So they'll be like just like somewhere else they're going to be like, we just decided this, we just did this math and it makes sense to us.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the armor feels about that.
I hope she doesn't snap and turn evil.
All right, let's give the armor a break.
All right. Okay. Yay. Good podcast, guys. This is a couple great episodes. We have two more to go of The Mandalorian. So that's going to be fun today. So we are going to sign off and stop recording and then fire her right back up in just a couple of minutes and talk about Bad Batch. Because we got to do the double finale of Bad Batch. We're a week late on that, so hopefully you've all got a chance to see it and digest. And yeah, we'll play some sad music and get into doing that. All right. Well, everyone, thank you very much for another great week. We'll talk to you in mere moments. May the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.